Any teenage boy on the internet will tell you the Mark IV Supra is the best car ever made. The fastest, best looking, and most desirable supercar killer ever created by man. And in some ways, Supra kids, you might be right. But the only reason any car enthusiast freaks out when they see one is because nobody bought them. This is the Mark IV Toyota Supra, a car that every enthusiast knows that failed miserably in its own time, and simultaneously tarnished the Supra name forever. Back in 1993, Toyota unveiled the fourth generation of the Supra to the world, a creation that stood as an embodiment of pioneering automotive design and technology. Its launch marked not only a bold succession of the Mark III Supra, but a revolution in the landscape of high-performance sports cars. It's easy to say, the Mark IV Supra was undoubtedly a perfect fusion of power and aesthetics that companies today have found difficult to emulate. Even Toyota themselves. It's so legendary now, it's hard to think of a timeline where it wasn't constantly breaking its own auction sales records. But as you might have guessed, the very opposite was true back in its day. To understand the Supra's struggle, we have to first understand what this car was all about. The 1990s. What a time to be a car enthusiast. And it's thanks to cars like the Mazda FD-RX-7, Nissan 300ZX, Mitsubishi 3000 GT, and of course, the Nissan Skyline GTR. And that's to say nothing of the stuff coming out of Germany or any of the firepower we were cooking up here in the States. This era was one of the most memorable in the history of the sports car. But all of those cars came either right before or right after the turn of the decade. Toyota hadn't yet given the public their new high-performance toy to play with just yet. More and more turbochargers and sleeker looks were popping up everywhere from inside their home country of Japan, and the Supra nameplate seemed like the ideal candidate for a complete makeover that would put them right back in the best sports car conversation. With head engineer Isao Suzuki at the helm, the guy who helped create the first Celica and first two MR2s, he and his team would design and develop the fourth and sexiest generation of Supra yet, the A80. At the heart of the beast was the power plant that has since become a thing of legend, Toyota's 2JZ. It was a 3-liter inline-6 marvel available naturally aspirated, or for those seeking an adrenaline rush, equipped with a set of twin turbochargers. The twin turbo variant churned out a staggering 320 horsepower in stock tune, thrusting the Supra from a standstill to 60 in a blistering sub 5 seconds. Cars equipped with the turbo package and manual transmission were now capable of laying down numbers not far off the Porsche 911 Turbo. The first prototypes of the body design were inspired by the stunning Toyota 2000 GT of the 60s, and the initial drafts were so good they kept much of the original design language. Inside was a revolutionary driver-oriented design, reminiscent of the aerospace industry, with all interior controls pointed towards the driver and housed in an angled circular cockpit. In the handling department, it wasn't quite the visceral, involved experience of, say, the FD-RX-7, but it was more comfortable and could be gladly hustled down a back road when needed. After 4 years of development, its Chicago Auto Show debut in 1993 proved the car would be a hit. Early Supras were widely praised by journalists, and Toyota felt confident in their new welterweight challenger, but their dreams for the new Supra would sadly fall short. Despite all the exciting elements it brought to the table, the Mark IV Supra faced a sales predicament, a surprising conundrum for a vehicle that now sits in the Automotive Hall of Fame. Right off the bat, the most glaring hurdle it faced was its price point. In the heart of the 90s, the twin-turbo Supra was leaving showrooms for over $40,000. To put that into perspective, that's a figure closer to $70,000 in today's currency. For a lot of enthusiasts, it was a steep price to pay, especially given the other performance cars on the market at the time, like the Chevrolet Corvette, the Nissan 300ZX, or the Mazda RX-7. Each offered a similar adrenaline-filled driving experience for a much more wallet-friendly figure. I mean, it was basically the same money as the NSX, and it was a lot more expensive than the outgoing Mark III. And though it was an era of dreamy sports cars, we can't forget what was actually selling out showrooms in the mid-90s. The closing years of the 20th century marked the meteoric rise of the SUV and practical vehicles. These utilitarian modes of transportation were seen as a more sensible option for many, with the ability to cater to the family, daily commute, and shopping trips, while providing enough space to go on weekend vacations. The shift in trend ate into the market share of sports cars, including the Supra. Then there was the prickly issue of insurance. Given the Supra's prowess and sticker price, insurance companies deemed it a high-risk prospect. As a result, premiums were sky high. This significantly added to the total cost of ownership, further discouraging potential buyers. For many enthusiasts, the Supra was a dream car they longed for, yet practical considerations like these presented a challenging obstacle. Finally, an unforeseen external force compounded the Supra's sales struggle. The Asian financial crisis in the late 90s hit the economies of many Eastern nations hard, including, of course, Japan. This economic downturn significantly impacted Japanese car makers, and their high-end and performance-oriented vehicles were the first to feel the pinch. With budgets tightening, a luxury sports car like the Supra was viewed as an indulgence very few could justify. And looking back at the numbers, you can see the effect on the Supra's sales. From the time production began in '93 to when they stopped selling the Mark IV in the US in '98, Toyota sold just around 12,000 total units in North America. But more were produced up until 2002 when the Japanese market officially ended its run.
And those 98 model year cars? Most of them ended up being sold used. Toyota couldn't even get the dealers to take delivery of them new, and so a majority of them ended up in the hands of Toyota employees to go out and put a few thousand miles on them, where they'd then be sold to dealers at a loss, who could then try to sell it heavily discounted as a certified pre-owned car.
In its final years, the Mark IV had already been doomed to a fate of poor sales, and the now infamous generation was dead. Despite its showroom disaster, the Supra managed to flip its fate in a dramatic fashion and cement its status as a pure icon. Today, the Mark IV Supra is revered, a holy grail among car collectors and enthusiasts. It's appreciated not just for its raw 2JZ heart that can be pumped to a gazillion horsepower without breaking a sweat, but also for its timeless, distinctive design that could only ever exist in the 1990s. And of course, there was its cameo on the silver screen. The Supra catapulted to mainstream fame with its star role in the Fast and Furious film, further enhancing its legendary status among petrolheads worldwide. This high-profile screen presence added yet another layer to the Supra's legacy, making it an absolute superstar in its own right. After the first movie, posters of Diablos and F50s and the Viper came down, and in their place was the RX-7, the GTR, and of course the Supra, that got plastered all over young men's walls across the world. All in all, while the Mark IV Supra faced a challenging inception, it more than compensated for it in the decades that followed. Its story serves as a testament to the fact that initial sales don't always reflect the enduring legacy a car will leave behind. Hell, go take a look at the recent auction numbers for a clean Mark IV. You will be shocked, and then cry while you look at your bank statement. So, whether it's charging down an open highway, cruising city streets, or sitting quietly in a garage, the Mark IV Supra represents much more than just a car. It's an emblem of a time when car makers dared to dream big and push the boundaries of what was possible. It's remembered not for its initial sales struggles, but for the indelible legend it has become.
Thank you all for watching. Please give this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more ideal stories just like this one coming along every single week. In the meantime, go watch the story of Lexus right up here, or whatever YouTube thinks is best for you right over here. I'm Trav, this is Ideal, and I'll see you all here very soon.